Hello everyone, good morning. This is going to be my last presentation for this Capstone project, and my project is on analysis of the impact of robotics and AI on the performance of food and beverage sector during COVID-19. So, coming to the introduction, the emergence of COVID-19 significantly disrupted the supply chain, sales, as well as finances of food and beverage companies. The pandemic resulted in supply chain gaps attributed to the sick workforce as well as containment protocols such as social distancing at workplaces. The pandemic has prompted the food and beverage processors to adjust to the new containment measures so that employee safety is guaranteed while keeping the facilities up and running. To achieve these goals, there is a need to adopt and use of robotics in the food and beverage industries. Coming to the objectives, the study aimed to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of robotics and AI application in the food and beverage industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. The study evaluated the effectiveness of robotics and AI in the containment of COVID-19 by looking at the rate of new infections. The impact of robotics used in organizational sales production levels was also assessed in the research. The study went further to evaluate the task efficiency of the robotics in terms of sanitization in the high containment risk departments, service delivery, customer satisfaction, as well as quality improvements in the food and beverage sector. So, coming to the data collection, the data was collected using the Google survey forms that were sent to 60 organizations dealing with food and beverage processing based in the US. The survey form had a total of six multiple choice questions that pertain to the use of robotics during the pandemic and the impact of robotics on sales, productivity, and task efficiency. The number of responses was limited to one, and the respondent could only submit upon answering all the questions. A total of 49 responses was received out of 60 survey forms that were sent to the various companies. Coming to the data processing and analysis, JASP is a free and open source software that is supported by Amsterdam University. The program is majorly used for statistical analysis and is designed for easy of use, especially for the users who are familiar with SPSS. JASP provides both Bayesian and classical form analysis procedures. The results obtained from the program are in API style, hence they are easy to publish. The statistical tool provides Bayesian inference, which utilize Bayes factors and credible intervals in the estimation of values as well as the model evidence. It also offers frequentist interference based on p-values together with confidence intervals for error control. Coming to the results. So out of the 49 responses received, 41 of the companies agreed to have leveraged the service of robotics in one way or the other, while other 8 companies stated that they did not employ robotics during the pandemic. And coming to this, most of the organizations that were targeted by the survey suggested their productivity was impacted positively by the pandemic. However, this was the contrary to the expectation as the pandemic reduced the workforce of various industries. Also, from the analysis, it was evident that companies that employed robotics registered lower cases of new infections, while those companies that did not employ robotics experienced no change in the number of new infections or regarded the question as irrelevant. And also, the organization that employed robotics registered a significant increase in levels of production. However, some companies claimed that productivity remained constant as shown above. And also, there was a positive impact on sales levels in the organization that employed the use of robotics during the pandemic. From the data, 27 organizations agreed that they registered insignificant sale increase due to robotics. Most of the firms that utilized robotics during the pandemic agreed that they are efficient, while a significant number claimed that they are efficient as seen from the frequency tables. So coming to this, the chi-square test of association evaluates relationships between categorical variables like any statistical hypothesis test. The chi-square test has both a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis: there are no relations between the categorical variables. If you know the value of one variable, it does not help you predict the value of another variable. Alternate hypothesis: there are relations between the categorical variables. Knowing the value of one variable does not help you predict the value of another variable. The chi-square test of association works by comparing the distribution that you observe to the distribution that you expect. If there is no relationship between the categorical variables, in the chi-square contestant, the word expected is equivalent to what you would expect if the null hypothesis is true. If you observe the distribution is sufficiently different than the expected distribution, you can reject the null hypothesis and the interference with the variables are related. For chi-square test, a p-value that is less than or equal to your significant level indicates there is a sufficient evidence to conclude that observed distribution is not the same as expected distribution. You can conclude that a relation exists between the categorical variables. These are the results. The null hypothesis in the study was there is no significant relationship between the use of robotics and the rate of new infections as well as sales and the production levels, while the alternative hypothesis suggests there is a similar significant relationship. Based on chi-square test results, the null hypothesis is rejected and we conclude that there is indeed a significant role played by robotics when it comes to sales, productivity and rate of new infections. That's all about the results, and coming to the discussion and conclusion from the results, the high efficiency contributes to better and the time production services. The use of robotics also plays a significant role in containing COVID-19 due to reduced number of workers working in the facility at any given time. They ensure that the minimum distance protocol is adhered to the virus cannot be transmitted from one worker to the other. Coming to the recommendations, organizations are mandated to thoroughly assess the emerging risks and hazards associated with the introduction of robotics in the food and beverage sector. Since it is a new technology, the Occupational Safety and Health Act does not address the standards for addressing the risk associated with robotics. However, research is underway that will establish standards that shall be used to regulate the use of robotics at workplace. In the meantime, the organizations must be aware of the risk associated with implementing robotics at workplaces. The employees should be well trained and made aware to adhere the manufacturer recommendations. That's all about my project, and here is attached of my references. Thank you all. Thank you for your support. Have a good day.